We are going to work on Lesson 2. Lesson 2 consists of learning how to draw with the pen tool, the Bezier pen tool in Adobe Illustrator. I just click down here on the dock, it pops up, clicked on the Illustrator icon, create new, meaning a new page, and then you've got prefab pages here. You can work in points, you can work in inches, they're giving you different scales, different sizes, different increments of measure. I'm going to go with print, and I can choose to go with inches at this point over here. Pica is inches. I'm going to go with inches for today. And orientation is going to be here, which indicates that it's going to be portrait versus landscape. An artboard, again, is the white area that we learned about yesterday or in the prior exercise, which means the printable area. In Illustrator, as of the last couple of years, we've got multiple artboards, so you can have a lot of different things that encompass one job in one file versus multiple files, which is a nice thing. Okay, with that, I'm going to go to Create, and there's my artboard. Again, I'm going to go over quick keys as I go. So I'm going to hit spacebar. Spacebar allows me to get the hand tool, which allows me to move the artboard. If I hit the tab key is going to get rid of all the tool palettes, and tab key to toggle back. I'm going to go and reset everything so I can start from scratch. Window, Workspace. I want to go to Reset My Essentials Classic. That's how I like to work. Again, spacebar. So one of the most primary things that you'll do in Illustrator is draw logos, or to recreate logos doing production work, because maybe the image of the logo was given in a raster format and the resolution's bad and you may have to recreate it. Another thing is that a lot of the time they're going to give you a job when you first start at a business. They're going to start you slow and they'll give you work that really doesn't entail a lot of thinking but more production to get on your feet. So I'm just going to start off by going to File, Place to go and locate the image that I'm going to be using, and I'm keeping everything on my desktop. And this one's the Apple JPEG, that's what I'm looking for. Placing this image, click. So again, you can see that there's an X through it. If I hit Command Y or Control Y, you can see there's no vector information. Control Y to toggle back. Now I've got my black selection tool, and I'm going to click and hold this, and if I drag it again, I'm skewing it. No one wants their logo skewed or their artwork skewed. So undo this mistake. It's Control or Command Z. Command Z is Macintosh format, and Control is obviously Microsoft. So, or PC. So Shift, click, drag it in. Again, I want this dead center in the artboard. Command X, Command 0 to center up the artboard. Command V pastes it right in the middle. Okay, so you've got these tools over here, and so far we went over this, direct selection, well, the selection tool, the direct selection, and what else? We went over the rectangle tool, the star, and the ellipse tools. This is the Bezier pen tool. Okay, again, you see if you hit the letter P, it's going to give it to you automatically. Now here is a nice production technique that I like to utilize. I always go and click on the direct selection tool prior to the pen tool, and the reason for that is because when I'm working I don't want to keep going back here to change tools. That facilitates, if I click here then to here, if you hit the command key it takes you back to the last tool that you used prior, and so that facilitates speed of execution when I'm working on this. Okay, this is one of the biggest palettes that we're going to be dealing with. You deal with this probably just about every day. Layers palette. And again, layer is going to show you what is on this primary layer, and I always would put the image on the bottom of the deck of cards to use that analogy. And layer 1, I'm double clicking right in this area, and I'm going to put down image. And then I like to lock it so that I can't move this around. You notice there's a pencil there with a circle and a slash through it, and I try to click and drag it. Nothing doing because that's been locked. Over here, I can double click on this area, and I can dim the image if I like to because I can't see perhaps if it's 100%, and Light blue is the color that is going to be assigned to this layer as indicated down here on the right hand side by the lock, the blue line. So I'm going to say okay to that for now, and you can see that it faded out a little bit. It went to 50% of the opacity. And if I unlock this and I click on this with my command key, I get the direct selection tool again. I click here. You can see that this bounding box is blue. If I create a new layer, which is down here, or I can also go up here and hit new layer. So there's always multiple ways to get things done. So new layer, and as you can see right here, this is going to be assigned red. I'm going to name this art. Okay to that. Now you see that this blue dot indicates that this image is on the image layer. The blue dot indicates what's been selected. If I hit the command key again and deselect everything, it goes away. If I click on this, it's indicating that this is selected. Now let's just say I didn't want it on this layer. Maybe I wanted to move it up to the art layer. I click on this dot and I can move it up there. And then I can put the eye out of this layer and you can see it's on the red layer, titled art. Put the eyeball back, click the selected dot, move it down here, lock this. And then I'm going to go start to work. So I'm going to go to Art. My pen tool has been selected, and if you click and you hold it, you're going to see that it's got the pen tool here, Add Anchor Point tool, Delete Anchor Point tool, Anchor Point tool. Now, this has always been considered the Convert Anchor Point tool. It's changed. I guess the title has changed. So I'm here to tell you that we're going to be working with this tool, and that's it. Because you don't need to continue to go back here because there are quick keys that you need to master. So to begin, again, let's zoom in on this, Command Spacebar, and just marquee small little area that indicates how pixelated this image is. So that's why we need to go ahead and redraw this so we can get a smooth silhouette contour. The approach that I use and I've always used is I will start here and I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to zoom in so I can see more so what I'm doing. So I clicked and I drug. There's no line, there's no artwork yet. There's just a dot with two directional handles. Spacebar to move this up. And the approach that I always use, and it's done me quite well, and I draw really quickly because of the fact that this formula that I'm using works to get an economy of anchor points and to get good quality with the contours. So beginning, I clicked and I drug in this direction, and then I'm going to go down here at the conclusion of this curve on the contour, and I'm going to click and drag. Now, because I chose the white arrow prior to this, I can hit the white arrow, which is command key, and I can grab this handle to pull the contour out there. And as you can see, I did a pretty good job of that. Oh, what's going on here? I've got a white fill and a black stroke. So if you look over here, this is the fill color, this is the stroke color. So I'm going to go and get rid of the the fill color here, and I'm going to leave that stroke so I can see what I'm doing. You know, do I really need it? Don't really need it. Let's go and get rid of that one too. So again, you can click on it and it brings you to the front, allows you to go and deselect color. If you wanted to go to the fill, you hit the letter X and it toggles between fill and this stroke. Fill, stroke. Spacebar. So the pen tool left off right here. Let's go and see if I can continue. So this is a long, shallow curve, and I'm going to try and see if I can get it right here. There's the beginning of a curve, end of a curve. Perhaps I can drag this one out a little bit longer so I can get the contour to be just right. And with this arrow, I'm going to click on this handle and I'm going to move it back in because I want it to be short for this small little curve that we're getting right in here. So beginning of this curve, beginning of this curve, ending of this curve. And you know what? I'm having a hard time seeing the red on here. So I'm going to go back to my layers. In this dead gray area, I'm going to double click. And I'm going to double click on this. Now this allows me to go and make my own custom colors, and I think green would stand out nicely off of this. You can do the tint, which is, you know, any color with white. That's the highest value of this color, or I can add black, and the result is right here, creating a shade. But I think it's probably pretty good right in that area. So with that, close this. You can see it's changed. Hit OK, and this is turned to green. Therefore, everything on the art layer now is going to be indicated with green. Okay, so this is a long, well, this is a real subtle curve, so I'm just going to do that. Good habit to get into. This is the beginning of a curve, this is the conclusion of that curve. Spacebar. This is the beginning of a curve, this is the conclusion of that curve. Short handles don't need to be very long. Right around this side, click and drag. White arrow to, which is the command key, to modify the direction of the arrow. And I'm going to continue. Let's see. Economy of anchor points. So zooming in is command spacebar. Zooming out is command spacebar and the option key. Over here, I'm going to go and drag this. And I think that this is a little bit too high value for me to see. Double click, make it a shade. And then close out of this. Okay. Okay, that's easier to see. Spacebar. Long curve. I think that that one concludes right here because it gets a little flat here. That's pretty good. Right here. Long curve. Okay. So the reason I told you earlier that we didn't need to go back here at all is because if I put my pen tool over a line segment, you can see that the plus arrow shows up. And that means that I can add an anchor point there if I needed to. Now that I realize I don't need that anchor point, I just hover over it again. And if you notice, there's a negative or a subtract on the pen tool. I can click and delete that. Now, command key again will get me back to the direct selection tool, and I can grab these handles again. And I always try to keep in mind that this anchor point is only required with this handle. It's only responsible for half of this line segment in the arc. Same thing with this one. So I generally try to get these things to be uniform. And right down here, this is where we get into the anchor point tool, or the convert anchor point tool as it's been known in the past. The quick key for this is the option key. I click on this handle and I can move this independently now, and I'm going to place it along the contour because that's the way I'm directing this line to emulate out of this anchor point, shoot through this, and come over here where I'm going to go up. So in this instance, I'm going to click and drag. Oh, what happened there? It didn't connect. Command Z. So when that happens, that means you've got to go and hover your anchor point or your pen tool over the anchor point. If you get a slash mark like that, that means you have to continue by clicking here. It's already been converted to a corner point tool, so you can see that this anchor is working independently from this one. And then I'm going to continue on clicking and dragging, holding the click, option key, pulling this vertically. Spacebar, drag this down, clicking and dragging, and again I'm going beginning of a curve, end of a curve. Small handles, therefore short curves, therefore short handles. And down here I can probably get this all done with one long drag. There. Option key, pull it up and around this way. Click and drag. Option key, because there's a slight little change of direction, spacebar. And then right here, the circle shows up, and that means that I can close this. And I always close by clicking and dragging. Command key allows me to go get the white direct selection tool and shorten the handle. Command 0 will center my artboard, and now I'm going to go and get my letter I, which is the eyedropper tool quick key. I. And I'm going to grab that color. Not really beautiful. Over here, if you look at the fill, notice the fill color right over here. So I'm going to go and hit letter X to get the fill back on top, deselect the fill, and I'm going to go and select a more beautiful red. Now I'm getting this really pasty looking red, and I don't like that. So up here is your color palette. You can actually just go in here and you can click on the color bar to choose the color that you like. Right now this isn't really showing a lot of options, so I'm going to go here and I want to show my options, which gives us the slider bars as well as the color bar. And so I'd like to go, this being selected, I can shade this color, I can pull some blue out of it, I can make it a little bit more of a warm red, I can maybe saturate the red with more hue, more blue becomes, the red becomes a little bit more blue affected. I like that red right there. What if I wanted to make it a tint? If I hit the Shift key and I grab the furthest most left slider, this stays the same red, but it adds white. Command Z. If I want to do this, make a shade of it, I can just grab the black and add black to it. Command Z. So tint means a color that's got white addition. Shade is any color that you've added black to. And if I hit Command Y, you can see how clean this is and the economy of anchor points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe 21. 21 or 22 anchor points. And I was being really attentive to the contours. If this were a logo, I wouldn't have gone in there for this realistic looking contour. And I'd probably get away with maybe 10 to 12 anchor points. Here's my layers palette again. Now the palettes pop out. If you want to put them away, you click these double arrows. Click on this again. Or I can go here with my layers and I can drag it with the tab and put these away and let this float out here. Now I don't want to see the picture anymore. Okay, so I put the eyeball out, Command Y. Black arrow over here. I want to go and click on the apple, click and hold the bounding box, Shift key, and scale it down in proportion. Command Z. Or I can go and click, Option Shift, and drag it, pinching it in the middle, and getting this to go scale from the outward side in. Command Z. Okay, and that's roughly how we're going to use the pen tool with the program. And if you can draw this, I don't know how much time this took me, about 5 minutes I imagine. You should be able to draw something like this within a minute or 2 minutes maximum. Once you can draw with this technique that I've taught you about approaching it with the beginning of a curve and the end of a curve, and when you can draw this apple silhouette within 2 minutes, then you're pretty good at the pen tool. And it doesn't matter if you're drawing an apple, it doesn't matter if you're drawing a basic geometric shape. The approach is the approach. The only time I would say there's an exception to this approach is if you're drawing something that's geometric, like I don't know, you're tracing something that's, mechanical. You don't need handles for that. If it's straight, you can just click and click and click, etc. So that's the pen tool, the introduction, and we're going to get a lot more exercise with it as we go through the program.